pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
August 6, 2020 board meeting to order. Roll call shows everyone is here except for Shauna, and she has been excused. Are there any agenda changes?
We're gonna move H up before A.
Isn't Shauna on the phone?
Oh yeah, Shauna's on the phone. I'm sorry, Shauna.
Are you there, Shauna?
She's not here in person.
You just hung up.
Okay, agenda changes?
H above A.
Okay. We'll move then to consent agenda. And we have July 14th, 2020, special board meeting minutes. July 16th, 2020, committee of the whole minutes. C is July 16th, 2020, regular board meeting minutes. E is July 22nd, 2020, committee of the whole minutes. F, July 27th, 2020, committee of the whole minutes. G, licenses and permits. And H is presentation of accounts and other claims against the village.
I just have one correction on the July 16th village board meeting minutes. Under discussion about land sale, we should likely strike the party off of that note. So I think at this point, I think we leave that stricken off. The prospective buyer.
July 16th, committee to hold?
Yeah, on, after all of the R dashes, and then, 1, 2, 3, third one down after that, it just says discussion approval to proceed with land sale for, near a park. There's the name of the actual prospective buyer in there.
Okay.
If we could strike that off of there, so that they're held private, and then, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call, Dan?
Abstain.
Aye.
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 Shauna?
Aye.
Motion carried. 5, pre-registered citizens to be heard.
We have Brett Springstroll. I don't have your address on here.
Oh, sorry.
Just, you can just text me.
W93
Okay.
15 Gibbons Road,
Okay.
Hortonville. Brett Springstroll, Porks, and then I also have Eric Peters with me for Boogie and the Yo-Yos. I submitted a special permit late. I realize it's 60 days now, but we would like to do, Eric would like to put on a concert at the end of this month, the 29th, downtown Hortonville, right across from Porks. We would close off the area, we'd pre-sell tickets. We involve the fire department, a couple other local bands, high school bands. Do it as partially a fundraiser and just an event for downtown.
A little background on the event. Greenville has opted to not have the summer send-off this year. This would be in place of the summer send-off that we typically have in Greenville. In order for the 401c3 private or 401c3 nonprofit organization that I run, which is called the Bill Tesh Foundation, where we grant a music scholarship every year. We do it at the concert. We invite the student that wins the award up to play. It's a really great event. It promotes community gatherings. It also promotes music education. We've had great success over it. Would really like to be able to continue the tradition the way it's meant to be, and unfortunately I cannot do that at the previous venue. Brett and I had chatted, and we looked at the space next to Ports, which is the vacant parking lot, essentially firing back at Ports across the street, ideally blocking off part of Nash Street. We would be selling advance tickets where you would have to go online, purchase the tickets, and then when you show up, you would have to be checked off a list, and then you could enter, similar in fashion to Fond du Lac County Fair did, which is an event that we played. And I guess that's about it. The benefactors being the aforementioned fire department, potentially Hortonville baseball boosters, and the Bill Tesh organization.
So I guess my question would be mask requirements. Just where we at, I know it's outdoors,
If
but
that is the ordinance, then that's the ordinance. Then,
I'm concerned just because there's so many events that get blown up all over the,
It has to go through staff level first.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they can't really, we can ask a few questions, but it's not on the agenda, so.
Right.
I do have a
We
question
can't
about the
discuss it.
streets. So you said like the lot adjacent, but then you said something about Nash. Paint
Mill
me a
Street.
picture
no,
of
no,
this.
sorry, Mill Street, yeah.
Mill Street instead
Mill
of
Street.
Nash Street.
So, okay, Mill Street and then Alley 1 is what you're,
Correct.
okay. Okay.
you have filled out your permit?
Yeah,
You're just-
but it was late, so we thought we should come here and kind of get the details out in front of everybody so that it's short notice.
Okay, so we could actually comment on the
It was
next board
denied.
meeting?
We denied it.
We denied
Oh,
it.
you have denied it,
And so
Okay.
it would end up going to the next board meeting for your
Okay.
approval if they appeal our denial.
okay, you would have to come in to the next board meeting then, we'll put it on the agenda.
Do I
Because we
answer
can't
that for
discuss
you?
it, it wasn't on this meeting.
Unfortunately, it's on the 20th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Pick a different date, got it. All right.
So they for fall maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or, yeah. So that it was denied, we can put it on the next agenda so that we can talk about it.
are you okay with that?
Well, no, disappointed that it was,
We don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
unfortunate that protocols were missed, but at the mercy of the court, as it were.
Yeah, we can't do anything with it tonight, just because it wasn't on the agenda. So, you would have to go to the next board meeting,
Right, and that's the 20th?
yes.
I guess I know we're not supposed to talk much about it, but just in terms of, I'm new, so I'm just making a point based on what I know, that the special event policy, what we're looking at is the denial by the police department and the public works. And it's like, I don't know, the board, I guess, should realize, or we should realize that with those denials based on safety issues and other concerns, I'm not sure how much they should, confidence they should put in the actual board approval on the 20th. I don't know, again, you haven't seen any of the information, you don't know anything about the event, you can't make a decision, but I'd hate for them to put all their eggs in a basket for that event and then come and then have the board deny, I guess that's all.
Carl and Chris, could you comment on what the denial was about?
Yeah, I was wondering.
And what grounds are we denied? Is it?
Was it just a timeline or?
No, it's kind of a slippery slope here, now we're discussing it.
Yeah.
Hey, well, briefly, let's address it.
Mostly safety, concerned about parking. I mean, the event over there in Greenville, much larger area. And we're trying to combine it to a small little itty bitty parking lot and part of a street. With everything that's going on, we're gonna have people driving through Hortonville and seeing us hooting and hollering and partying. And we're gonna be on the news. I mean, there's no way you can, practice distancing and
Right, we were told the anticipated population, or a number of participants that were going to were 1,500. So they had it normally at Lions Park, which has parking for 700 to 900 cars. If that's how many are gonna show up, we were looking at what do we do with 1,500 people who are coming to park on our city streets because there's not a parking lot. We have first responder issues of fire department, ambulance, attempting to get to a residence. We have to look at blocking off streets and allowing parking on maybe one side of the street and not the other side. Just some of the things that we came up with.
May I propose a question? With regards to that, on how did you handle the Strawberry Fest and the other festivals?
They were at Alonzo Park,
It wasn't Strawberry Fest.
it was a chocolate fest or whatever.
Or, excuse me.
It used to be Chocolate Fest, and it became the Hortonville Homecoming.
Mhm.
We always went to Alonzo Park. We never had any issues, and they parked in the high school lots, and they would walk down, so there was ample parking. You might want to
I would
consider
also
that.
argue that there was ample parking at the high school lots and things like that as well. in
Yeah,
which
and the
they
side
could-
streets too. So we never had an issue with parking. We always posted crossing guards for the safety of, the attendees.
I guess too, I mean, there was no plan actual for review on any of this, like porta potties or parking or how you're gonna
Technically,
handle.
there is, you just haven't been privy to that plan yet.
Right, so, but all I'm saying is I would hate that, you could come back with all this at the next meeting, which is the best idea, and try and make your point, but I guess I would hate for the board then to have to make a decision. You have to be selling tickets for this event, which is 3 days after the next board meeting, isn't it, or a few days?
Correct, if that is in fact what I have to wait for is the next board
Right.
meeting, then yes, I would have to. Well, technically, I could sell tickets tomorrow, and with the idea that I'd have to issue refunds if the event didn't happen. I'm not as worried about that, I'm not worried about our fans having to deal with that. Technology is a wonderful thing. However, it would definitely inhibit sales, knowing that I'd have to put a disclaimer ahead.
I think we're getting a little off track here.
Yeah.
Any
Uh,
plans though, if you want to submit your plans, you need to submit them to staff in advance of that meeting so that they have time to adequately look at it and make a recommendation.
Right,
Is there a template, or is there something like, say, for example, what the fire department submits for their plan?
I guess my biggest thing is if I get your concerns, then I can address them and we can come up with a plan. So I guess that's more what we're looking for, is if you have any other things, we can address them and then submit it. And then if it makes sense, it makes sense, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's more why we're here, is what kind of feedback do you guys have for us, and then we can.
My recommendation, and this is the last comment I'll make, we need to move on, is you work with both Carl and Nathan,
Okay.
okay? Do your
And
detail
Chris.
layout.
Chris.
And
Chris
Chief.
with the police.
And what?
And Chief.
Chris,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Thank you for coming in.
Yep, thank you for the time, we appreciate it. We're trying to make it good for everybody, so thank you for the time.
Thank you.
We'll move to committee reports.
Oh.
Library
Oh,
board.
there's,
What?
That's both of them, right?
That's both of them,
oh, okay. She was trying to stop you. We're good. We're good.
sorry. There was just another name on here, but that was him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It was probably Eric.
Oh, okay.
It was probably Eric.
Then we'll move to the committee reports, library board. Ally, do you want to report
Mhm.
when you do your report at the end?
I can include it in my report.
Okay. Because I know Pat wasn't here, so.
Right.
Yep.
7, unfinished business from previous meetings.
Wait a minute. Committee reports, you want to hear anything about the public facilities last night?
It's not on the list. Sorry.
My
Next time.
fault.
8 is new business. We will move H above A, Mid-Valley Industrial Services, Inc. addition.
I guess, it's, this was, from the planning and zoning. There it is. Basically, it's an addition to the Mid-Valley, facility in the industrial park. It was passed by planning and zoning last Thursday. I guess if you wanted to kind of explain the addition.
Sure, yeah, it's a 2,500 square foot addition to their existing warehouse, with a 1,600 square foot open canopy in the back corner. The addition basically gonna be used for a wash bay and added storage, with storage under the canopy, for a lot of their washing equipment. That's, I guess, about just minimal lighting, with cut-off wall packs, so it won't, shine outward.
It meets all the covenants, setbacks and all that stuff. And it's, again, been approved by planning and zoning, so they forwarded it to you for your approval.
Are there any questions?
No, we didn't get it till today.
Here.
There we go. Sorry.
Uh, That's the overall site plan. The darker area is additional pavement, right?
Yep.
This area is within the regional stormwater pond management area, so any additional runoff will be treated. The squares, the highlighted square areas, the bottom one to the left is an overhang, basically a cover, and the one to the right, upper right, that's the actual addition. They can drive in and drive out, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does anyone have questions? Then we're looking for a motion to approve.
The, seems the only issue is the lighting, and Carl, you're satisfied with that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I addressed all that at the planning and zoning, and I should address it here, but structurally, the components match the requirements of the covenants of the district. The lighting is cutoff lighting. It's what we recommend in the district, even though we don't specifically name it as such. What it does, it directs the light downwards. So the really nice lights they're putting on this facility, they're only putting a couple more on the back. But yeah, everything meets our requirements, whether it's mechanical, structural, the color of the building, the types of materials. Yeah, be a nice addition for them.
Any other questions?
I can make a motion to approve the Mid-Valley Industrial Services addition.
Second.
Roll call. Dan?
Aye.
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 Shauna?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to A, ECWRP, Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan Presentation.
I'll start this out. That stands for East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. This is Trish now. I always say now, but it's actually.
That's the right one. Yeah, you got it.
Trish is known by me, and even David's had a lot of workings with them and East Central, her. And anyways, Trish is working on a comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. It's a 5-year plan that expired late last year. So what we're doing is freshen it up and make it for another 5 years. So I'm going to let Trish fill you in on where we're at in the process and where we go from here.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I'm gonna take this long so I can at least talk to you guys. So again, yeah, like Carl said, we're updating the Park and Rec plan. We did the last one, East Central did, so it's actually a pretty easy update when you start looking at it. Let's see here. What's the easiest way to do this one?
You mean go forward? Which one is it?
The slides down on the bottom.
Or I would do the arrows, I think would work for space bar.
Okay. Yeah, probably. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview. You have a different version of PowerPoint. Give you a little bit of an overview on our timeline, where we are in the process, why you need to have a Park and Rec plan versus just the comp plan within your village, and just give you some background information. So why again do you need the corp? Basically, it's a vision directly for your park and recreation. There is a little bit within your comprehensive plan, but this touches more on your facilities. It gets more detailed into your parks, the acreages, what your needs are, and specifically for grants. You need a plan in place for stewardship funding, health base, any transportation, if you want to look at trails, and these are state and federal. So again, local governments such as yourself can apply for those once you're in compliance. So every 5 years, you should have an updated corp in order to do so. And then there's other funding resources also that the corp could, play off of. So it's a good thing to have, good thing to have in your arsenal when you're looking for any kind of funding that you guys might want to use. So I pulled this right from the Wisconsin state plan, the SCORP, that just came out, I think, 2 years ago. So Wisconsin state plan, so the state comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. These are somewhat as far as what they really require. I create 8 chapters. They really only require 7. We'll have the intro, the goals and objectives, you got the inventory with the resources, the needs assessment, which is a big one with all your data analysis. The health assessment is the one that they don't really require, but I feel that the health is actually very important when you start looking at what's going on and how can you relate that to your parks and trails and basically your overall amenities. So that's a big one to actually have in there. It's good for other health grants too. So I like to include that one on there just as an extra bonus, which I wish the state would actually think about doing, but they may incorporate that within their full document. And then we'll get into the recommendations. There's a multimodal component that's also not required, but we like to put that in there also for your trails, the bike and pedestrian portion of that, which you can apply for TAP funding. So again, the recommendations kind of feed off of your bike and pedestrian type planning. So that's another thing that East Central likes to really put in these plans so that you do have those correlations. And then chapter 7 is really your action plan, your strategy, your implementation. How do you complete all this? And then hopefully you get to chapter 8, which is the fun one. That's the easy one. That's your adoption and your resolution. And then everything within there, your maps, tables, figures, appendices will be your survey results. I will put in a whole list of funding options, different grants that the village can apply for different playgrounds, that kind of thing, ball diamonds, you name it. And then your park audit analysis, which I just did last week. So the weather was beautiful for that. So breaking it down a little bit, this is what I usually like to use. I call it 4 planning phases. So your phase 1, where are you now? That's really what you guys have on the current, what's basically on the ground. What is the parks and facilities that you have supporting your population base? So that's basically your phase 1. That's your needs assessment. And we're gonna go over a few of those numbers too with your population tonight. And really that phase 1 is complete. Phase 2 will be how do you actually, where do you wanna be? So that's your visioning, your goals, how can we pull this all together and at least have another vision for the next 5 years? What do the parks and rec facilities in the village of Hortonville really look like in those next 5 years? And then the how do you get there is really your strategy. That's your chapter 7, spinning off with your chapter 6, which is your action plan. And then your phase 4 is really how do you measure that, and that's really with your adoption and documentation, as far as your metrics and value on how you complete that implementation strategy. And if you guys have questions, stop me anytime as I'm going through here. Kind of a casual presentation. So just kind of popping up the tentative timeline. We felt basically this was with the technical assistance projects that East Central puts out there. And this maybe is a little bit off of what the contract is, but of course a lot of this stuff is tentative with everything going on with COVID. But I think we're pretty well in good shape as far as to complete the plan. So again, we got the preliminary survey. I think we sent out a few links to you guys. The needs assessment, So that's pretty much all done, and then we'll get back into that phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. So by this fall, hopefully we can look at that visioning, maybe set up public info meetings, kind of see how everybody feels about that. We could also do an online forum, which may be another choice. It's hard to get people off their couches even when we did have COVID, so you know how that goes. And then by the time October, November comes around, we should have a pretty good priority list as far as what the final recommendation shall be, and then adoption by the end of the year. So that's kind of the game plan. I'm pretty confident we can meet that, so that shouldn't be a real issue at this point. So just kind of going through the survey results, we use getfeedback.com this time around. And I do have the link up there. You can go on there. That's just the summary. It'll give you all the percentages, statistics, everything you'd want to know on that. You guys can go on there and look. We started the survey on Memorial Day, and then we're gonna run it to Labor Day. So that's usually kind of the time span when I'm doing these things that you really do get the most responses. There's more people out there using the parks. More people are thinking about it. So as of today, we've had 96 that completed the survey. The most visited parks, Alonzo, Miller, and the Wheel Wash Trail. I mean, I know that's a state-owned trail, but you do have the trailhead that's located within the village boundaries, so, but it is fairly getting used. And as far as recommendations or recommending, any visitor, as far as coming here, would recommend your parks to somebody else. You got 3.79 stars. I don't know if you get 79 stars, but you get, you know.
Is that good or bad?
It's good out of 5. If you look at your percentage, you're not, I mean, you still got room for improvement, but you're not awful or terrible. You know, that's really where you're looking at. Same thing with your satisfaction levels is pretty much right in there at 3.73. So, so yeah, keep up the good work. You know, there's always stuff that, like I said, that people are going to be either complaining about or not complaining about. So you just kind of have to deal with that. A lot of people said they wanted more nature areas, which I thought was very surprising. You know, I think Hortonville is beautiful. You guys have a lot to offer in the village, a lot of water areas, but maybe they're just looking for more green space. And that just basic statistics from the survey. They thought restrooms was another factor. When you start looking at, I suppose, where, you know, you can have seasonal restrooms versus permanent. Of course, they don't realize that they are expensive. They cost over, you know, a good $100,000 to put in a good restroom facility. And then a disc golf course. So that was pretty interesting too. So trying to look at some different types of facilities and activities that people in your village would like to use. Trails was another big thing. We asked the question as far as what type of trails. It basically said all types, so on-road, off-road, paved, non-paved, anything that basically they can walk, ride their bike, you know, you name it. So trails is a pretty popular thing right now. Obviously with COVID going on, I think trails have gotten used a lot more. People wanted to get outside and they're still social distancing, so it's a big feature when you're starting to look at that. As far as what you guys need more of, that the survey takers said, possibly basketball courts. Again, the trails were in there, but they were number 2. And then winter programs. So winter, I know, is pretty tough in Wisconsin, so it is definitely difficult to find things for people to do. Could be winter events, could be cross-country ski races, could be, you know, snowshoe races, could be a lot of different things, but maybe that's just something that, you know, you can strive for and look at a little bit more closely. As far as maintenance, maintenance overall was good. You know, there was just, when you start to ask that question as far as where do you give your higher priorities to, pay more attention to the shelters, pay more attention to the restrooms, you know, looking at the playgrounds, making sure they're safe. There's no, you know, screws, that kind of thing as far as safety for the children when you're looking at that. And then landscaping, and then just overall trash removal, which I'm sure you guys probably have a schedule that you guys follow on And then as far as funding, for either new facilities or improvements, a lot of, it's no surprise as far as they don't want their taxes to be increased, you're looking at donations and grants. Again, more youth programs, and that kind of goes along with your basketball courts and winter programming. And then as far as where they actually obtained Park and Rec info, social media, Facebook was number one, basically on the list, besides obviously your website. And then just kind of looking at the demographics portion of it, really Hortonville has couples and families of 4. And that was kind of the highest response when you're starting to look at that portion of it. So again, we're still kind of in the meat of getting the survey results, but I wanted to share just, some quick highlights with you guys, just to kind of see where you're at and things that we can think about as far as recommendations. So getting into a little bit more of the needs analysis, I do have handouts here too that I guess I can pass them around if you wanted to look a little bit more closely on them. This will actually go into the document itself. I think we did this last time too, Carl, right? We'll try to make it work. Oops. Yeah. It's pretty tough to see on the screen, so I figured I'd print them out. So yeah, just to kind of give you a little bit of a summary. And again, this is really your chapter 4. So this will be chapter 4, and more or less just the highlights I wanted to kind of share with the board tonight on some of the demographics, what your projections are, where you guys are kind of at with population, where you're at with park acreages, that kind of thing. So, looking at the population, according to 2010, we'll get 2020 census in soon, but 2,711 people, probably a little bit more than that now. Obviously, you got 10 more years in there. If you look at where 2020 is at, you're probably at 2735. And then pulling down, actually 2895 when you look at that bottom chart there. And then according to what I got from Carl, we added up all the acreages of what the village maintains. Now, this isn't all like open space, like the schools or anything like that. This is just what the village has and what Public Works really goes in and maintains. So we looked at 46.05 acres. So looking at your demand, we take a standard of 10 acres per 1,000 people. Really your demand is, 28.95 acres. So you're well within your surplus of 17.10, which is today. If you look down at 2040, we still have a surplus of a little over 13 and a half acres. So it's just basically a barometer. It's not really saying, it's good or bad, but you do have enough park land, that's land mass, as far as to support your growing population to 2040. So that's really what that's stating.
And that doesn't include any school
Does not include any of the school property, which you have plenty more acres that could accommodate. Correct. Yeah, I like to separate it out as far as somewhat what the city or the village is just maintaining versus what your other public properties and private. Because obviously you have the country club. There's a lot more recreation that's over there, but it's privately owned. So the village isn't really taking care of that. So you're looking at, okay, well, what are the taxpayers actually paying for? And you're looking at 46 acres is really what is in, as part of the tax-paying dollars.
And it doesn't include commercial funds either.
Right.
I think that's what you.
Is that
That's
what
what
you
I-
meant?
yeah, I'm sorry,
That's
yeah.
why I was thinking the country club out on the telephone.
I'm doing too many plans, you guys.
It's all right, you're doing fine.
Telling you.
It doesn't include the golf course either.
Right, exactly. So basically, anything that's public and the village maintains is really what we're talking about here, not the private, which is basically just bonus when you're looking at other acreage calculations. So turning it over on the second page, it's more of a breakdown as far as, what's really required. And these are really just standards that, I'm trying to think, the DNR actually came out in the National Park and Recreation and Park Association really came out with. So, you know, for a state, it's 70 acres. For a county, it's 15 per 1,000. Local community, we say about 10. Private sector, about 5. So, you know, you're kind of breaking those pieces apart. And as far as what the National Recreation Park Association is saying, it's between 7 and 10 and a half acres. So really what I did is I broke down the number of park types that you guys have in the village and took those calculations as far as how many acres are really required by type, and then looking at, do you have enough acres to support your growing population by type of park? So that just breaks it down a little bit further. As far as the number that you saw, you know, basically was it 17.10 surplus as far as what you actually had. So even really when you're looking at just, you know, community parks, I mean, you have plenty. And that's actually looking at minimum and maximum using that 7 and 10 and a half. So your neighborhood parks, you have plenty within that span. Same thing with mini parks. So, you know, the village has got sufficient park space and facilities to take care of the growing population and the current population. The map that you kind of see that's down here, that, I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen here, but that's really your level of service. So you'll see those big circles. That's really what your parks and special facilities encompass. So looking at that map, it really encompasses everything when you're looking at community, neighborhood, and mini parks, except for when you're looking at, if you take away that special facilities, you want to keep parks within that half-mile at least walking distance. So there's some areas that could, you do have a little bit of a void to, where you know, Spruce Street is, you know, there's some new neighborhoods that actually could use maybe a little bit of a smaller park or a neighborhood park within those areas. But I mean, overall, you know, as far as walkability and looking at where your parks are located, it's really downtown. So you're basically starting from that spoke of the wheel and kind of spreading outwards to where all your residents and different things are. So it's, any new subdivision that you would put in, I would definitely consider or look at as far as putting in green space. You have to put in stormwater ponds, why not a park sometimes, or at least the open space to accommodate some of that. So I guess it's just something to think about when we're starting to look at recommendations. Like I said, you've got plenty of land mass out there as far as recreational space. It's more of just where it's located. So, any quick questions on that? Otherwise, I got a few more things, and then I promise we're going to be wrapped up here.
I have a quick one.
Sure.
So you had the responses up before about what kind of numbers are you? So you had put like basketball or what was it?
You got internet?
Need more, yeah. Basketball, trails, and winter programs. Do you have any kind of numbers on what? I mean, is this like 3 people that said we need winter programs, or is it 600 people that said we need winter programs?
Yeah, and you know, if you're looking at, you only have, I don't know if I can get to it from here. Let's try. We'll pull it up here. I'll show you the actual survey. You had 96 that completed the survey, but you actually had probably over 200 people or so that started or close to that. So we'll pull up the summary for you. But yeah, I mean, it does make a difference. It's like, okay, well, you had 15 people that actually said, hey, I want a basketball court. You're going to spend $10,000, $20,000 to put in a basketball court, right?
The 2 of them, the 15 that would use it, yeah.
Right.
I mean, and there's courts at St. Peter and Paul, or outdoor basketball. There's courts at the schools. There's, you know, so
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's alternatives to what the city or the village is actually, you know, providing. So yeah, so basically this is good feedback. These are your summaries. It's actually a very robust survey thing where you actually can go in and pick the pictures, which I really like, because I think you get a lot more responses that way. We'll get to where your satisfaction levels are. And there's actually some very good comments on here, so we can send you guys back out the link if you wanted to really look at this.
I had shared the link with the
Yeah.
board previously.
Yeah, I
you
think I
did.
looked at it,
Yeah.
but I didn't go into the,
So again, you know, you look at trails, well, 56% said all types, but you had 54 people that really responded to that question. So looking at even, you know, ball diamonds, great, 32 to 43. We get into the basketball, okay and needs more, you had 30 people. So, you know, 38%, so you had 30 people that said, okay, well, I'm looking for more basketball courts.
okay.
Well,
It's surprising we even got an okay, we don't have any of that.
Yeah. And I think people assume too that private property like St. Peter and Paul, even though they allow, you know, I think people think that that's part of the parks. It's not, it's actually private property, you
That's
know?
why there's trash on that one, when she talked about trash, that was the county's trailhead.
Yeah.
We get blamed for it. So.
yeah. But see,
Again,
then
it's an overall look at the area, it's
Yeah.
not much to the village, but.
It's interesting.
people, yeah, you're not gonna know who owns, a lot of times the resident really isn't gonna know who owns what or who maintains what, or where your village lines are for that matter. So that's a very good point. But yeah, take a look at this. Like I said, this is ongoing. We're gonna do another push, I think, out there to get some more responses, to finalize this. And then what we'll do is really cross-tab some of these things with the demographics, and then you'll get a better feel as far as, you know, what your residents are really asking for. So again, yeah, very good question. You have to take what you get a lot of times with the numbers and kind of go from there, so.
Well, I have a couple other quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have actually just pretty much one.
Yeah, that's
So, I mean, the whole purpose of this, well, I mean, the underlying purpose of this from budgetary standpoints is to be able to apply for grants, assuming that you have to have a plan and you have to have certain things in place. So, and we've done this for the last 5 years already, right?
Yep.
So, what did we see for grants that required this specific type of planning?
There's a few DNR grants. We applied for the MSC multimodal grant.
Mm-hmm.
That one, we had the potential to have a home run or get nothing at all. We got nothing at all. But we've got the bypass coming up. There's gonna be.
Yeah, we're looking at the trail. It's a 20,
Yeah, I mean,
25,000.
we can not do it. I mean,
But
but,
I'm just looking at the return, so, because we've been doing it for 5 years, so. we
well,
should
we
have
have been doing it for,
Or longer, yeah.
yeah.
So we should have some kind of a track record of what kind of, you know, I mean, what kind of grants that we
It's not just for fun.
have seen.
It's management of
Yeah.
our park system. Yeah, you can't, if you're gonna put a price on it, then we're probably in the wrong business.
Well, I mean, there's a price on everything, but.
Yeah, then we're, yeah.
But you would probably like to know how much
Yeah,
how much money did you get for grants in turn for the actual plan being written?
yeah, say like in the last decade,
Sure.
you know, I mean, how much money showed up in grants that wouldn't have, you know, that weren't local, you know, local donations or something that really didn't
Well,
apply
I
to the
got kayak
plan.
launch, I mean, I've gotten all kinds of stuff.
And that should really be in the budget. The CIP should actually have everything listed
Yeah,
within there.
well, I mean,
which
I've
we
only
could
been
include.
sitting here less than 2 years, so I don't have the background
Oh, sure,
of
yeah.
where it was.
Oh,
That's why I'm
totally
asking.
understand. Yeah.
I mean, Peter's been here long enough to probably know the answer.
I'm the old man, remember?
I think, what was the meeting that we had with the jurisdictional transfer? What was the grant that they were talking about that's on the county level?
Well, there's greenways, that's
Okay.
another one that this works on. Or even library, when they apply for outdoor
Yeah.
grants, they gotta use this. Multimodal, TAP grants,
Mhm.
Did you guys get fishing pier? You had $44,000 for that? Was that part of it, for the pier?
no,
No, that's-
we tried, but,
That was budgetary.
Yeah.
when we really start focusing on trails here in the next few years,
Mhm.
that's where this stuff will really come into
Yeah.
play. And as far as grants, yeah, I've gotten a lot of grants over the years, I've probably got close to $700,000 worth of grants since I, been DPW. So, yeah, we are making use of it.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the dynamics of, you know, we're doing something, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do, I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Yeah,
I think we're
definitely.
gearing up for the bypass and everything that we have to do, we have to have a pretty good footprint. And and this will feed into that.
Yeah.
Usually it's just a checkpoint, like every grant application you do, they'll say, do you have this?
Yeah.
Or, and if it's not checked, you can't even move forward in
You
a
get
grant
some,
application.
yeah, through the DNR stewardship funding, you get so many ranking points if you have a clerk. And if you have a specific project in mind, which is really a good point, that you guys are looking at for any improvements and you want to apply for that grant, it's best to actually really specifically write that within your recommendations. Same thing as goes with the comp plans.
Yeah.
You know, you can generalize it to a certain point. The DNR will probably give you some slack on some of these things, but if you have a specific project, that works the best, and you're gonna get all those ranking points and really good grant. And I'm sure Carl can contest
Yeah,
that.
I actually got a stewardship grant that we ended up turning down, right, Peter? That we wouldn't have got if it wasn't for this. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just coming at this from someone who's never seen this,
yeah.
never heard about it, didn't know it existed.
Perfect.
And the start of the presentation was grants, you need this for grants, you need this for grants, you need this for grants, so questioning, you know, where the history
That's
has
the main thing,
been.
because that's what boards like to see, but it's also a management tool.
Oh, yeah,
It's what, parks and planning, it's more useful inside the office than it is really to you guys. Except for come budget time. It is used inside the office when we're planning and, you know, during our capital program and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
Grants is the biggie that people like to hear about, so. Unfortunately, they're few and far between now, but, it's still the big driving factor, is always grants, but there's a ton of other uses.
Yeah. And really it is a vision and it's a guidebook, so we tell our public works or parks directors to really pull that corp out, you know, even if sometimes on a 6-month or even annual basis, even more, just to make sure you got your checklist. Oh, okay, well, maybe we should look at this, you know, or that kind of thing. So it's kind of like the Park and Rec Bible when you're starting to look at for those 5 years. Same thing, I guess, goes with the comp plan and everything else that you guys have, which I guess that's a little bit longer, so. There's the map, just kind of threw that on there just to give you a little bit bigger viewpoint as far as what was on the handout. We did break down the numbers. Let's see if I can even see them on here. Probably really hard to tell as far as what you had in there, but looking at what is not served, just in those tan areas, it's close to maybe 95 people or so. So really, it's not a whole lot of your village residents that really aren't within that, 1 mile distance from a park. So
We're kind of looking out in that area with the next round of stuff.
So yeah, if you're looking at, you got the industrial park that's kind of down there, just, west of where Spruce Street. You got to look really where your development is going to be. So those were just the kind of the things that really popped out when we looked at doing the analysis, taking the parks, doing that 1 mile buffer around community parks. You're looking at a half mile walking distance or buffer around a neighborhood park, which is really your ideal. And then about a 1/4 mile around any mini park, say like your pocket parks, that you just really have green sitting areas downtown. So that's really where this was pulled out from, just to kind of give you a feel as far as where you're serving and who you're serving as far as population goes. So really kind of ties it all together when you're looking at the demographics, I think, anyway, gives you a little bit better picture of it.
Is this available like online? Like I can look at this, but like I can't read the legend and
Yeah.
everything. Is this available? We could look it online?
Sure,
Okay.
sure, and I can send that to Carl, and
Thank you.
it's a PDF, and you guys can zoom in, and I can send you the map as well.
Thank you.
And then you'll be able to see it, so, yep. So really, we're at the point as far as what's next. We're at that phase 2. Really what we want to do is for the next little bit as far as maybe probably meeting with the Public Works, looking at the old plan that we ended up doing, are the goals and objectives in this plan still pertinent? So that's really our next step as far as phase 2 goes. Looking at the primary recommendations, are there any recommendations in here that are still relevant for the next 5? And then looking at that visioning. So there's some recommendations that probably have been completed. looking at this plan, and then looking at the, you know, carrying over into the new one, looking at the action plan that way. We will, what I'm thinking of what actually doing is taking this plan, these are the things that were accomplished in the years 2015 to 2019. These are the things that still need to be accomplished from this plan, and these are the new things. So looking at that action plan and strategy, you kind of go from one to the next. And then again, like I said, the public forums are online. If you want to do informational meetings, I'll have to talk to Carl. We'll have to figure out that. We'll let the survey run until Labor Day as soon as school starts. A lot of times the survey can go beyond that. We can leave, depending on what we get for responses, we can leave it up, you know, a little bit longer. We just have to do the analysis at the end of it. And then we'll, like I said, get into phase 3, which is once we get all the recommendations and analysis from the survey, that will help with our action plan and implementation strategy. So, a lot of stuff. But I'm happy Carl asked me to you know, give you guys a little bit of a feedback, a little bit of background information on the corp itself and how it's really put together and why you need it. So, any other questions?
When you put together what happened from 2015 to 2019 with what was in the plan and what didn't happen, I'd be really interested if you forward me to just pass it to Carl and forward it to me. I would.
Yep.
I mean, I understand the plan has more value than just the monetary, but that's the other portion of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part that I would have liked to seen in the presentation.
Sometimes you don't realize how much progress you made until you go back and look.
Yeah, you know.
And we can come back and actually give you that presentation once you have all the analysis to look at. Yeah. And I mean, Carl probably has that as far as what he has. Yeah.
That's the selling point in the qualitative sense of the implementation of the plan.
How do you measure
versus yes. I mean, how you know what was suggested that we wouldn't have done anyway, and how did the plan help move everything forward? And that's
exactly. Yep.
I'm wondering if you have a need for more input, and I don't mean to put Ally on the spot, but our library is very busy, if that would be a place to kind of piggyback to get more input via library patrons,
I can find something for her to do.
Yeah. I know.
Or even if the library, like the survey was shared, right?
Right, but if it could be boosted somehow through the library Facebook.
It would certainly help if we can get that on her website, and just we can get a rush of additional surveys in the next month. So I'll talk with her tomorrow.
Maybe Carl, also with the election coming up, if you just put a whiteboard out in the hallway here, remind people to go on.
A QR code that they can just scan from their phone that takes them right to the survey.
Oh.
Yeah, this little QR code.
Yep, just a QR code would work.
I think I said you guys.
I make those. Did you know that?
No kidding.
Yeah, I thought I did. If I didn't, I can send it to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a little postcard with the QR code, and then people can just snap it with their phones and do it real quick.
Yep.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Thank you,
Trish.
Thank you, it's interesting.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And any other questions, please try, get a hold of me. If you got any follow-up on tonight's meeting, I'd be happy to answer any other questions you guys would have, so.
Thank you.
For sure.
We'll move to B, PAFR approval for publication.
This is the PAFR, which we started last year. It just basically takes the annual financial report and kind of makes it simpler for anyone to read and kind of understand what we did last year financially and where we ended. Yeah. Any questions?
Is this something you can put on the website or on social media so people could, the public can know where we're at?
That's kind of what you're approving.
Okay.
I don't publish, I didn't want to publish it until you guys approved it necessarily, but yeah.
But there's nothing private in or anything like that? I mean, it should
Nope.
go out to the public so everyone can
Yeah,
see where
last
we're
year's
at.
is posted on our website right now. We did post it and we put it in the library. for people to read and then kind of have printouts people can pick up.
Okay.
Need a motion on that, or
Yeah.
just have that? We'll make a motion to, give our office, verification and approval to publish the Packer report then on our website.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. C, Northeast Asphalt Pay Request Number 1, 2020 Hortonville Street Construction Project.
I'll
Thank
take
you.
This This is Northeast Asphalt Pay Request number 1. This is for the 2020 Hortonville Street Construction Project. It's basically a utility project with some delay of some streets. Anyways, pay request number 1 is for Birch Street and Lincoln Street. The Brick Street project is going to be starting next week. That's the project that includes the utilities, so I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we basically, between the bid that we received from Northeast Asphalt for these 2 particular items, we're down, we're a couple $1,000s lower than the original bid amount. So, again, I'm looking for a motion to approve Northeast Asphalt pay request number 1 in the amount of $38,245.45.
Pavement looks really good. I drove all of them.
Yeah.
Mat looks good, no segregation, right elevation, cross slope, so.
They're gonna be in your neighborhood, not these people, but the crack fillers are gonna be in your neighborhood in the next week or 2.
I drive over Birch every day. It's much, much better.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. That road went back right after that.
Yeah, it was bad. So I'll make a motion to approve Northeast Asphalt pay request number 1 in the amount of $38,245.45.
Second.
Roll call. Dan?
Aye.
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 Shawna?
Aye.
Motion carried. We'll move to D, Northeast Asphalt Pay Request, Warner Street Paving Project.
All right, I'll do this one as well. Again, there's no request number 1. This is the total bid from Northeast Asphalt, or total invoice from Northeast Asphalt for the Warner Street project. Again, the final engineering and assessment report will likely be on the next meeting. I'm going to shift that over to Bob. The assessment's going to be based off of this amount we're looking for today, plus an additional $3,000 for striping, which includes the stop bars, the turn lanes, and all that stuff. They're going to be out in the next week or so to finish that up. So the original amount was approved by the board for this contract was $152,294 plus an additional $5,000 for discretionary repairs. The total assessment figure came in, it's going to be $148,000. So we're approximately $9,000 cheaper again than the bid we awarded. So I think everything went pretty well there, considering COVID and the graduation, and there was a lot of emails between the school and me trying to get this squared away. So I'm quite happy how it turned out. We just got to get this project done. But again, the assessment will likely be at the next board, or maybe even September. There's no rush on that, but me and Bob will work on that. Again, I'm looking for a motion to approve Northeast Asphalt pay request in the amount of $145,365.80.
Motion to approve Northeast Asphalt Warner Street pay request at the amount of $145,365.80.
Second.
Roll call. Dan?
Aye.
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 Shawna?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. We'll move to E, Otto Miller Park Reserve Fund, electrical upgrade to field lighting.
All right, well, I had passed a handout in front of you there. It's 11 by 17 drawing of the field. There's fund balance for the Otto Miller Reserve. And there's a design bid or design build proposal from B&H Lighting, a local company here. I've got Jeremy here from B&H Lighting. This is something I've been trying to get accomplished over at Otto Miller for the last 4 or 5 years, is to do something with the field lighting. The wiring that was put in there in the 70s was donated wire. It was used wire and it was direct buried in the ground. It wasn't direct burial wire. And we've had a lot of issues over the years with it cracking and breaking and you having voltage loss in the ground. So we're lucky we haven't electrocuted anybody. Anyways, David and Jeremy had worked on trying to get this thing pushed forward to be done this fall. It's not in the budget, but what we're looking to do, if you look in my my handout there for the DPW memo, logistical concerns, timing would require the in-ground portion of this project to be done in the fall. What we'd be doing is replacing all the electrical conduits, panels, wiring receptacles, breaker panels inside the building, breaker panels in the garages, breaker panels in the school storage, and breaker panels in the Hortonville youth storage. It's quite an entailed project. You want to speak a little bit on that, what all it involves?
Yeah, it's, if you look at the plan that I kind of chicken scratched up with Carl and Ryan and Chris, we're gonna put a 100-amp panel down by the green shed, which is the northwest corner center, I guess. And then we're gonna put a 100-amp panel in the south by the batting cage on the west diamond. There'll be conduits ran underground also for future, because that's gonna all be concrete, correct, Carl?
Yeah.
That's gonna all be concreted, so you won't be able to get out of there ever again. So we have stub pipes all throughout the property, so that if you ever need to get wires in or out somewhere, you can. Each pole will have PVC pipe going to it, and then an expansion coupling that goes on top, so when the earth does move, it doesn't break apart like everything up there is now. Right now, there's only one pole in the entire property that's actually grounded. We have been band-aiding it for a long time, so the ground wires that are between each other now are used for hot wires, and then we put a ground down in the ground just to be temporarily safe. So once we get it all piped and wired, it'll be all taken care of. So then from the concession stand, we're gonna go out straight north, and on the left side fence, we're gonna have two 2-inch conduits coming up. One's gonna be for power, to be able to get to the scoreboards on each diamond, and then also it's gonna feed the lights on the back half of both diamonds, along with that green shed. So there's gonna be a spare 2-inch conduit there for any future that needs to come out there, or to feed them lower diamonds if we need to. But the lower diamonds, there's a service down there, so we can come back up that way. The electrical panels are gonna get moved from the outside of the building right now to the inside. There's gonna be a wire way right there. There's no pipe right now for the sprinkler wiring, for the irrigation. It's just wire laying in the ground. So we're gonna run conduits out to the diamonds. There's existing junction boxes now that we're gonna tap into, so that that doesn't break anymore either, because we've fixed that stuff a couple of times too. So it's all prepped for, and it all comes up to a disconnect junction box on every light pole.
And then this would lead into what we would do next year with the capital plan. I'm gonna pass around, I wanna put LED lighting in on both the upper ball diamonds. I'm gonna just pass that around real quick. Sports lights. When I first started looking at LED lighting for the ball fields, it was about $100,000. We got 3 bids from 3 different suppliers. We can do it for approximately $58,000 both fields now. So the prices have come down. And again, doing a design bid, or design build with P&H lighting saves me a lot of groundwork. He's put the package together cheaper than I can just buy the stuff, and without doing. I was going to talk to Bob on this. Doing a design build instead of bidding it out or going to an engineering firm, it's going to save us some money. But I think it's okay for this type of project to have him put together a quote of materials from different suppliers. what I'm getting at is if you buy a truck, you wanna get 3 different quotes. But when you do a design build, you kinda have somebody you're working with, and they're your general contractor for this. What we're looking for is, again, 44,000 this year, but I can guarantee you that if I went to McMahon and said design all this for the field, by the time it's all said and done, it's gonna be much, much higher. So we're doing a design build, and I just wanted to pick Bob's brain on that and make sure we're okay there. And it's the same with the lighting. I don't, there's some quotes going around and behind that. Like I said, the one for the field lighting of that sample I'm sending around, which I can want that back. The bid that he put together for that project is cheaper, much cheaper than I can buy the lights myself, just the 40 lights, not everything else that goes with it. So he's doing, again, this is employing local electricians, local contractors, keeping everything local. And I think the lights are out of New York, right?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Close
Also, yeah. So I just wanted to make sure with Bob that we're kosher doing it this way. The only other option is to go with McMahon and have them design the lights and go through that, down that route.
Carl, this is gonna be after the baseball season's fully done and.
Yeah.
And it won't be hot until the lights get put up.
Right, next week we're gonna do some tree trimming. The week after that, we're gonna work on the garage, and then the week after that, we're gonna work on we've got to wait till the end of August. We've got an event there till the end of August, so it'll be September that we do this work. And I don't think it'll take my guys, because we're just digging the trenches for his guys. And then once we're done up there, getting that prep for him, we're gonna move up to Alonzo Park and work on the pavilion there. So, I don't know, what's your opinion on that?
I know there are exceptions with design builds. I'll have to look into it.
All right.
The other thing I wanted to point out too, it's a budgetary cost at $44,857. This is not a bid.
No.
There are a lot of exclusions in here too, at the bottom, 14.
Yep.
So this is gonna cost you more than $44,857.
It'll only cost you more if the wiring gets hit and it's stuff that's bad that I can't control. So,
Yeah, what you should do is you should, if you're gonna give a T&M, you should have not to exceed. Makes us feel a little more comfortable.
I would feel comfortable doing that when I'm not doing the digging. You know what I mean? So we're working hand in hand with the village guys so that if they hit something, we can just kind of fix it.
So
And then we're gonna be ripping it out anyway, so, and then the main service goes from the concession stand to the street right there. And if, for some, hopefully nobody hits it, but I can't fix that for free. I mean, I don't know what this extent of the damage would be.
Yeah, most of everything, if we hit something, it's gonna get replaced anyways.
Right.
The only thing that would not be, we don't wanna hit is the wires going to the field watering system, irrigation system, and the main power coming in.
What is that, 220?
Yeah.
So this is not currently in the budget?
No, it is not.
What bucket is it gonna come out of?
If you look on the second page where they caption or up on the screen there, you'll see the Auto Miller Park Reserve Fund balance.
Bob, do you need time to research this a little bit and maybe we revisit this at the next board meeting, or is this an on-the-spot answer?
No, we can, if we had to push this off, I think we can. We're not gonna do anything till the end of August anyway, so.
Okay, let's put it on the agenda for next time.
I just wanna make sure the underground part of it is to do the infrastructure, the electrical panels and everything like that. Then the lighting fixture package that we got the 3 bids for and everything, is from the junction box with the fuses in it. From the junction boxes with the fuses in it, up the pole with the piping and then grounding down.
But that's next year.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right,
I just
and
wanna
that's
make sure
already
everybody's
part of
clear. And it's got the new light fixtures on the top and the masts and everything.
Yeah. This
So-
is just the in-ground portion.
So that would drain your reserve fund, and the rest would have to be budgetary.
It's not a problem.
Okay?
not with the capital program that we created this year with a lot of the projects we're doing. It's gonna be even more successful next year. We've got almost, how much in the capital next year?
Well, it's estimated right now at 325 or so.
And that's with holding taxes.
Depending on, taxes might shift that down a little bit if, you know, the school district increases or whatever.
But we haven't seen the capital improvement, like, what, is that sort of a budget time that we see? I mean, are there things that we're pulling from there and?
Well, so it's kind of supposed to be debated at the department head level and
Okay.
kind of created that way. And I don't think they've really met about it yet to kind of all agree on it.
You haven't, it's been in there for a while. You have seen the CIP.
But doesn't it evolve every year? Like, I'm just wondering if there's any significant.
It should, it's kind of dynamic.
Okay.
Some things fall in place, some things fall out of place. But yeah, we typically like to set it in stone towards budget time.
Okay. Just wondering if there's anything significant pulled from it this year or for next year that we as a board, you know, just would be nice to know if we're adding something significant or pulling something significant. I guess that's really what I'm looking at, what I look at. Is there a difference?
Well, I can send it to you. Again,
Yeah.
it's very fluid. I won't say very fluid, but there are certainly items that have been on there for 20 years that we've been trying to get done. I think I have shared it with Dan because he's my public works chair. We're close
I'm not,
together, but,
yeah, I'm not the chair.
as far as the board and the policy for the capital program, it always goes through department head meetings, and then we kind of approve each other's purchases, and then, or to go forward to the board with them.
Okay. I'm not asking for, to approve it or not. I would hate for something that maybe we had on the radar as on that, and then it got removed, is what I'm concerned
No,
about.
probably
Okay.
not. I can get that too.
So
Does
as I
Hortonville
understand,
use sports chipping in on any of this?
I was gonna ask them, but no, they haven't been chipping in much at all or anything.
well, you
Are
know,
they
if you
able
have
to?
reserve funds, if we approve this, Bob gives the go-ahead, and we approve this, you've got reserve funds to cover this phase one.
Yeah,
We could get them involved in phase two,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and we have talked with HYS, we talked with school. And basically, got told, you know, what we could do, so.
Well,
This is not gonna impact stuff that's going on in Miller Park or Lonzo Park, that stuff's still moving
no, I
forward.
know that.
Uh,
What's phase two cost?
About 60 grand.
Yeah. So that would have to be a budgetary issue for you, with the idea that maybe we can get some help next year from youth sports.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we haven't asked them, Gene. Every time you ask them, it's like, the school's not interested in paying anything beyond what they pay.
Okay, I just wondered.
HYS
Nice they
is,
said they would chip in.
We
Yeah.
talked about kind of going out to them
You know.
this morning, kind of because of the amounts, and presenting it to them what we're planning on doing for the next few years with the, out of Miller, and kind of talking with them, but kind of been waiting for things.
They do stuff up there as well. They take care of the
Yeah, I
fields. They got a 3-wheeler that costs $20,000. It depends on how you look at it. They're doing their job, we're doing ours.
Right.
You know, if it's just cash, you know, they could give us $5,000, you know, out of 5,000 out of 90. So yeah, that's gonna help some, but it's not gonna make or break the village. We're doing this again, not, I'm gonna say for the kids, but we're doing it for the park. We don't know the long-term use of the school. They might be out of there in 3 years, who knows? Who knows?
If I can just say one thing, the engineering was done free from us. I mean, I'd say we have about 80 hours of work, laying it all out and then visiting other locations and just throw that out there.
Who does your work, Jeremy?
The Lyle building is actually gonna lift the light poles up and do all that. I talked to Brian Porter about all doing that with his tracks machine that he has in phase two, just so that on this phase it'd be NOS electric, is who I use,
Okay.
and they are the ones that have done all the schools and.
Any other questions? We'll
We can,
put
we
it
can
to
delay
the
this all
next
that time.
board meeting. Thanks,
Well,
Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
It is worthwhile.
Okay, we'll then go to F, Wild Wind 2, possible approval of developers agreement and restrictive covenants.
Yeah, I can take that. The last meeting, we approved the preliminary plan, subject to approval of the developers agreement and restrictive covenants. We did not get the final restrictive covenants from Attorney Greg Curtis, but we have an understanding of what's to be in there. There was no, my memory wasn't good. I talked about a homeowners association last time. There had been discussion on that, but what ended up in the first phase was language in the restrictive covenants that allows for a meeting of the owners to take place in lieu of a homeowners association. So there's a procedure in place to deal with the monetary issue. Jim Clegg was having the restrictive covenants revised also to add that anybody can put up one outbuilding of up to 1,200 square feet, was it, Carl?
Yeah.
And Carl thinks that's reasonable, given that these are country lots. And I asked Mr. Curtis to include in the restrictive covenants the same language that we have in our notice of future assessments concerning the common areas that they're to be paid for by the owners. So we're good with restrictive covenants at this point. So if you're willing to approve them, we would ask that you do that. On the developers agreement, we've looked at that before too. Again, we're deleting any mention of a homeowners association. The other change was to the park fees. The park fee payment originally said that it be due upon sale of a lot. But the staff has talked about that, and we want to change it to being paid upon issuance of the building permit. And that just makes more sense. It's going to be easier to manage and collect. And so that's going to be inserted in there as well. And subject to those two changes, we ask that the development agreement be approved. Now, one last thing, on the notice of assessments, then we record once this goes, this plat is approved, and that will give notice to future owners of their obligations, both as to the common areas and also the final asphalt paving. And it also talks about the park fee. So that will advise the owners of the various things that are being passed on to them to pay. So we think that the paperwork is where it needs to be now, for the preliminary plat, like we talked. The only issue on the signing of that is that the letter of credit guaranteeing the performance of the public improvements. Here it's primarily the streets. That cost needs to be guaranteed by a bank so that if the developer doesn't do it, the money's there to complete that. And in order for the bank to issue a letter of, well, the bottom line is the development agreement can't be signed by Jeannie and Jane until we have that letter of credit. But the current timeline is anticipating that, based on Mr. Clegg's pre-sales, that he will be able to get a letter of credit maybe next week before the next meeting. And so they would like, authorization for, the development agreement to be signed by Jeannie and Jane on behalf of the village at such time as that letter of credit is provided. Carl will be, I think you've already estimated the amount that the credit should be.
It's approximately 850,000,
Okay. Questions?
What's the lower end size of the lots back there?
That's the smallest?
Yeah, the smallest one. Like 1,200 square foot, you're talking 30 by 40 pole shed, right?
No, it has to be a garage that matches the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no bullshit.
Well, and it's 20 by 30, it just says in the
It's 30 by
text.
40.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's the
They're-
maximum.
They're about an acre, aren't they, Jim?
Yeah, they are. They're almost right at an acre. No pole sheds.
Yeah, it looks like the smaller ones, Jim, are at an acre.
Okay. That's pretty tight to put a 20 by 30 on top of an existing structure already.
On an acre?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna,
Our ordinance says that as long as it's a third, at least less than a third of the backyard, you can do it.
I'm just thinking of because you're talking about, so the whole point of the covenant is to protect the neighbors so that your neighbor next to you doesn't, detract from your property value. So if you start putting structures onto a smaller property, it tightens everything up and nobody wants to live next to you. Right, so that's why that was the point of the question was.
Yeah, that's why you went to an acre. A 30 by 40 is nothing on an acre.
Okay. Well, it depends on the size of the house, I guess, after that, but.
Well, there is a minimum size on the houses, and the reason he went to a 30 by 40 for a toy garage is to make it appealing to people that want to invest that, build
Yeah,
their-
I understand, completely understand. But I was thinking, but you didn't have the
is big,
detail
but
that has to
my
match.
garage is 24 by 30, and it
Yeah.
doesn't seem very big.
Yeah,
I don't have the restricted.
yeah, I
covenants in front of me.
they just I didn't have that other piece of detail, because the idea of somebody throwing up a nice, 2-story 30 by 40 pole shed in their backyard, in a higher,
I don't know if it
higher,
can be 2 stories.
higher value.
I have it here. Single, is it medium floor plan space? Single story, 1,550 square feet.
Has to
And
match.
then 1.5 story, 2,000 square feet. Split levels, 1,800 square feet. All bi-levels shall have no level having less than 1,200 square feet. I mean, it's all in here. You wanna see it?
Probably setbacks, are the setbacks on, say, a pole shed, right? I mean, the key is not, if it's right up, I think what he's.
I think all existing setbacks for that zoning would apply, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
There is it describes the garage or the outbuildings too. Can you find that in there? Just,
Yeah, it should be in here.
Accessory buildings with 5 foot.
Storage or utility outbuildings,
Land use and building.
they may not be greater than 400 square feet.
That's what he was revising.
yeah.
So I assume he's just revising the number there, and the rest is
Yeah.
stay the same.
It's 5 feet for the accessory building.
Architectural Review Committee? What's the Architectural Review Committee?
Would that be Clyde initially?
Okay.
It's right in there, Jim.
Okay.
It's,
All right, nope, no, looks good to me. I was just missing some details, and I had the wrong picture in my head. And I'm thinking, if you buy the $300,000 lot over there, and your next door neighbor puts up a freaking pole shed right, and it kills your sky, your skyline.
What do you need from us tonight?
I'd ask approval of the preliminary plan and to direct execution of the development agreement upon Mr. Clegg providing, or James Land Company, whoever the developer is, providing the letter of credit from the bank.
Did you get all that, Jane?
Opposed?
No.
Okay.
See what was coming.
Okay, approval of the preliminary plat. And we approved it last time, but removing the conditions of approval. But adding that the development agreement is only to be signed by the village officials upon submittal of an irrevocable letter of credit from the bank in an amount established by Carl McCriff.
I'll make that motion. I think the amount you said was 850,000?
Yeah, that was the number, that I've got the actual bid for the contractor, so I'll.
Approximately 850,000. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Let's do roll. Dan?
Aye.
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 Shawna?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
G, Hortonville, or Helping Hands of Hortonville employees.
I just put this on here because our employees that drive the vans need to be on our payroll in order to be covered by workers' comp. And I have very few of the paperwork that they were given to be filled out. So I was just contacting Stephen Frusetto and getting some answers to that whole program.
You know, I'll go back to months ago when we first talked about this discussion. We were told that these were volunteers
Yes.
and that they were going to sign a waiver.
There has
Now, all of a sudden, we come up with the fact that we now have to employ them?
I have not seen any waivers anywhere, so this
Okay.
waiver document was never created, as far as I know. They were given employee forms to fill out, because in order for them to be driving, they need to be covered under our workers' comp. And that means they have to be on our payroll. So I'm asking Stephen Frusetto for some answers, because
Who came up with this?
came up with,
Well, who told you that they have to be on payroll?
I called our insurance company, and it states it in the document that was signed with the county, that we have to cover them under workers' comp.
Okay. Can you add some comment to this? Do you have any expertise on volunteer?
I don't.
Okay. So if you're volunteer, normally anything that would happen if you are transporting somebody, like the DAV does, they don't pay them. We don't, our transportation department doesn't pay them. They're volunteers, they're veterans. Okay? So, but they're covered under the insurance policy in case they get into an accident. So they've got a disability level, and that's where that ends. So we had this discussion a long time ago when the previous administrator was here, and he assured us that they would be volunteers and they would sign a waiver.
And that's
So
kind of
maybe
why
that's,
I put that on here, because I'm trying to pick up the pieces and
Yeah.
connect the dots, and
She's just researching really now to make sure we're covered.
well,
So
that's
that's what we're doing.
maybe that's a legal issue.
Yeah.
Is-
Well,
is
that's
Somebody
why
in
I
your
reached out.
office,
She's
can
taking
somebody
it
in your
to the
office
attorney.
address that?
that's why I reached out to
Yeah.
Stephen Frusetto.
Oh,
He's
okay.
another
attorney.
He's the attorney.
Yep.
Is the requirement workman's comp, or is it just insurance coverage?
Workman's.
Workman's
It's
comp.
required workman's comp?
I
Okay.
think originally when it was set up, we were told that they'd be covered under liability,
Right,
right?
Yeah.
right.
So the workman's comp is something new. Everybody was gonna volunteer.
Right.
So, that's how it was put to us when this was originally set up, and that's what the volunteers, including myself, are all
Right,
under the
and now we
impression.
have a signed agreement with the county, and so now we're dealing with.
Well, and I told Jane I could call the county too, just to see what their volunteer drivers do, what, you know, but it was new that they would have to be listed on the payroll. I think we knew that they would be considered employees, but this came up for workman's comp, so
Well-
there's confusion.
You can also reach out to the state Department of Work, Workforce Development, or whoever handles the workers' comp.
James is doing due diligence,
Yep.
and I know even in terms of the organization, there was questions about it being a nonprofit.
It's not.
And, right, and is that okay, that
Right.
it doesn't exist as an organization? And is it part of a village activity? So we're just trying to get things straightened out and cleared up.
Yep, we
It's really-
appreciate that.
It's not a nonprofit. It's really part of the village. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're off on a different track.
So probably, hopefully by the next meeting, we could have like a memo or something on where we're at with the research, and so you guys can
And
see
so,
it and understand.
right now, we really can't use any of the other volunteer drivers. Is that correct? To say?
That's what we're saying,
Right,
yeah, you
that's what
should
we're
wait,
saying.
yeah.
You are an employee, so you are covered under workers' comp, so you've been taking a couple of the runs lately,
I
right?
haven't yet, but I will, I'm
Okay.
taking the one next Thursday, yeah.
Volunteered time to do
Yeah.
last
And somebody from the library has volunteered, so I'm just trying to protect the village if one of these drivers.
Totally understand.
Okay,
But we were
Yeah.
led down a different path initially.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
we're
Yeah.
glad you caught it.
So for now, are you looking, so you've been helping? Yes.
Right now, technically, I'm the only volunteer driver that can voluntarily drive.
Because you're a board member
And the
or
I'm an
because
librarian.
employee,
you're an employee?
right,
And the
because I'm a
librarian.
board.
And a
member,
librarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you, if you're looking for help temporarily?
Well, how many, we have a couple appointments coming up.
We have 3 coming up. Most of them are at the end of this. We have 2 at the end of this month and 1 at the end of September. It's the same lady.
Okay. Well,
You're available.
well, no, I'm actually saying, if,
Right.
yes, I'm working from
Basically,
home, but I
you
have
guys
some
are-
flexibility right now. So in a pinch, I would hate for somebody to not have a ride because there's no
Right.
driver. So contact me if you need help.
Right.
Any one of us could drive
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
because we're employees.
right.
Right.
correct. I just want to make sure that, I would hate for somebody to be turned down. So reach out.
That's why we
Ask for
haven't,
help.
and I've been
Yeah.
thinking as is and kind of.
Just when I got rid of a minivan, now I get to drive one
See?
again. So,
So-
see?
I told you
So-
to miss it.
Did you call any of the other communities that are doing this to ask how they?
The other communities around, they use Valley Transit. They pay a nominal fee of like $1,000 and they use Valley Transit.
So nobody else is using this same program?
No, we got the vans through Outagamie County. The thing is with Valley Transit is then the person that rides it's expensive,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
we're-
ideally, this will work out great, but there's some.
So nobody
hiccups.
else does this? That we're the first one to do this?
Well, supposedly Keel does.
Well, Keel, yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, we wanna maybe give them a call and see how
I see
they.
one
No,
around
this
town,
is-
but I think it's from Old Island or something.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, not that I wanna throw more stuff at your plate, but, you know, if somebody else already solved it, then, you know, then it's an easier way to look at it.
We
than-
kind of
Cool.
based a lot on Keel.
Yeah, then, I mean, then going back and forth with legal and trying to figure it out sometimes, and if somebody else already knows how, it's.
Where are most of these trips to and from?
Some of them have been to St. E's in Appleton. A lot of them are in, some are actually like a block from the municipal center to a beauty salon. Greenville sometimes for eye appointments and doctors. So it's usually in this area.
Yeah, what do you average a week?
Yeah.
Roughly.
We've had 2
Two
total.
Yeah.
total so far? Put me on the driver's list.
Well, we were,
Yeah.
They have a
I'll
lot.
do the ones that are a
I
block
can
away.
handle that.
you were on our
Put me down, Jane.
In the interim, I think you've got drivers that'll help.
We'll
And
figure
if
it
we need
out.
to,
Well,
we need to
you
fill
know
out
what?
any paperwork to do that?
I think.
You
you're
would
right.
need
We
a
to
copy
check
of
with
your
state.
driver's
State,
insurance.
Okay,
Other than that, you should have everything
Talk to
with
me
us,
tomorrow,
I
we'll check with the
believe.
state. see what
Yeah.
they're doing.
I
Yeah.
can call the state.
so it's no
Yeah,
different than
kind
if
of
I
Pollock County,
take a
too.
loaner from a dealership, is that I just need to show them my insurance. So my auto insurance, I would need to show you,
Right,
okay?
So just maybe email us and keep us posted,
okay.
what you
Yep.
find out.
Thank you though for
Well-
bringing it.
Yeah.
Just kind of an FYI, Carl and I are gonna call the state too and get a
Okay.
determination from them, just to be safe. But, you know, if you're getting 2 a week, I mean, I can take 1 a week, and you can take 1, and Julie, if you wanna take 1.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
for the
I
last
don't have
one.
any,
I
Bob,
can
you've
too.
got time.
if it gets
Yeah.
busier.
I don't think I'm an employee though.
No,
No, you're not.
They wouldn't trust me.
No.
I think we could get Shauna to take some.
Yeah, we could. Shauna?
Okay.
Put
Okay.
car seats in
Okay.
there.
All right, let's move on then to I. Any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? I do
Just
have-
kind of, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I do have a couple. I don't know if we want to do this under committee of the whole. We were gonna look at the job description for a new administrator, and any other employee updates. We were going to, I also was asked by the rec director, Mike Summers, if he could come in and speak and just see where the rec department is going for 2021, because we would need to know for budget. So then he asked if that could be in the next couple weeks, if we could put that on. We should discuss the future of the senior center, if we're gonna kill it or keep it,
Okay, so
Or-
that would be the third
or
item.
what we're going to do.
Okay.
You know, and then I don't know if we need to discuss the historical society and the upstairs storage, and just see what options we have.
And maybe along with that, the Legion concern, if there's
Yes,
a,
we could also include that, just the Opera House in general, the use. That would be all I have. Does anyone else have anything?
I just wanted an FYI to Jane to put the minutes for the public facilities meeting on the next agenda for 20.
Okay.
Give a report. We had it last night.
Anyone else?
And I didn't want to make addendum 5.
I mean, do we wanna do some of this in a committee of the whole, because this is gonna make this board meeting so
You're
long.
supposed to do it as a committee. That'd be my head nod.
Pardon?
Do it as a committee of whole, I agree with you.
I would almost think most of this could go on the committee of the whole. If we do a 5 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
is that okay with everyone? In 2 weeks, the 20th? Because
Sure.
that's gonna, you know, and then we can always put this on the agenda if we wanted to do anything, you know.
There's too much to discuss in 1 hour.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, you should split it.
All right. Well, we can split it up in
Or
September.
do it another night
wanna do
for a longer
that?
period of time, up to 2 hours or so.
So when does, and not to discuss it, but when does the Appleton Alliance start? You said October?
3.
October?
Well,
Or
they
fourth,
wanted that
Fourth Sunday,
kept
yeah.
under wraps, remember?
Okay,
They didn't want that let out to the public.
okay. So I guess the question is, so I think of like Legion and Historical Society, could that get pushed here further? Because they're doing like a 6-month sort of thing. So like
Right.
instead of doing this in August, it might be more of the September, October.
Then let's do a committee of the whole with the rec and the admin description.
Even-
Maybe,
yeah.
we would be able to get through those two? Okay, let's do that then at 5 o'clock
Okay.
on August 20th.
could I just ask Dave, is that giving you enough time to get a feel for any changes in a job description for our administrator in 2 weeks? I mean, I
Well-
would think
Or do you
his
wanna go
input
out
would be
longer?
good.
Actually, that was a topic that I was gonna just talk about. I put these 2 things at your places. One is an assessment that's typically done by the business I work for, PAA, and they
But we
do.
can't discuss that right now.
Yeah, we can't
Yeah.
discuss that.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
So-
not on the agenda right now.
or I could put it under
You could
interim. I'll just say it under
Yeah,
interim.
do
is
it
my
under
update.
interim.
Super.
And then we'll use the other 2, we'll push them off into September.
Yeah.
Any other topics? Okay, then we will go to report of village officials. A, interim administrator.
There's your chance.
Okay. I put at your places the administrator assessment, which is typically done when a recruitment takes place. So, and I wasn't sure where you were at in terms of how quick you wanted to go. Usually communities want to go pretty quick and start the recruitment process because it can be lengthy. If you want, I could email this out to you and to staff, to get your feedback on what you think the administrator position should look like. That would help maybe with some of our job description and position discussions. The second thing I handed out was what a position profile looks like for when we do a recruitment. This was for the recent one in the town of Lisbon. Kind of describes the community, and then nice color pictures, and of course it would be online too, but and then it would show in the end the position, job description, and what the community's looking for, which would come from your input, basically. So I think we could probably, if everyone was, if the staff and the board could get this back
Absolutely.
pretty quick. And actually, the person I'm working with is a guy named Chris Schwartz, and that's whose name is you see on the back, in case you don't know who the heck is Chris Schwartz. He'll be helping with the recruitment process. So we could start that. I could get that email out to you. You could get it back to him. I get it to the staff, get their input, and then we could start. We'll see how that goes, if we can get it done by the 20th. The information back. So, the other thing, I just wanted to thank you very much for the opportunity. This is my third day, and I've had a lot of interaction with your very competent staff. I think you're lucky to have the people you have in place, and in tentative meetings with Jean and the staff, we had talked about 16 hours to 24 hours, depending on meeting agendas in the evening. Right now, we've talked about a Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday afternoon as when I would be involved, and hopefully I can contribute in that time. And I think, based on what happened the first week, I think I can contribute during those hours and bring some value to the issues that are going on. And if there are other projects, that also, that as time goes on, that you communicate, well, besides what kind of comes up on a normal daily basis, you could communicate that either through Jean or directly. My card is also, I put that by your place. My cell phone is there, and I have the same contact information that your previous administrator had, so hopefully I can help you out.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to B, clerk treasurer.
Muni code has been submitted, and we're waiting for the final update. Nathan made some changes today. It was going to be one column. One column, and he made it to two columns, like if you look in the statute book, or most things are two columns. So we made that change, and Nathan did. The colors were discussed, I think it was black and silver. That was set before, I think. For the August primary, we have mailed 303 absentee ballots, and 157 have been returned as of today. Friday at 5 p.m. is the last day for in-person absentee voting. Nathan has completed his third year of the Clerks Institute at UWGB, and he's working towards his clerk certification.
Good
So
job.
he did
Way to
that.
go, Nathan.
He did that week when he was pretty much alone. I think I was on vacation, and I think, so and it was all online classes, so he's been here and there, but he got it done. The deadline was the 31st of July, so he fit that into his schedule, which is commendable.
Good for you, Nathan.
Good job, Nathan.
Any questions for Jane? If not, we'll go to Director of Public Works.
Just a couple. Disregard the zoning and street map that's left over from last time. Is it? Well,
We got our new zoning and street map.
yeah, it's been updated, but we're also gonna, again, put it on our GIS for our website so people can, access that. We had a VFD issue with one of our blowers out the wastewater plant, and we've had that repaired this week. Our wastewater treatment plant permit, our new permit for the next 5 years, was not as drastic as we were worried. We had the same, TMDL for, you know, phosphorus and BOD and, total suspended solids. So our phosphorus, discharge has to be at 1 milligram per liter for the next 5 years. I was worried where they were gonna drop it down to some ridiculously low number. So that gives, Ryan or time to get financially stable in case we gotta buy some equipment 4 years from now. So, it definitely helps us out. One thing we do have to start doing this fall is E. coli testing. Before we just did fecal testing. E. coli is a more, I wouldn't say stringent, but it's a little more involved test. So, again, Ryan's gonna be setting the lab up for that. We had our lift station repaired down here. It had a backup float system that went bad in it. And getting back to the wastewater permit, here, I think August 10th, I think it'll go into the public comment period. The DNR will publish that and everything for our wastewater plant. Typically, nobody ever comments on a wastewater plant's permit, so. But again, it'll go into, I think, a 10-day comment period. And then the DNR will, pretty soon after that, issue our new permit. So that's all I really have, unless anybody has questions for me.
So that's, just on that, we're gonna have to look for the new DNR stats that we have to meet, maybe after 5 years. That's something we're gonna have to put in CIP, maybe to gear up to that 5-year mark.
Yeah, and actually, with the debt we got coming off next year, we've got time to address, well, I don't wanna get up too involved here. We got time to address the well house structure, well two, get that paid for within the rate structure, and then set ourselves up for, some tertiary filtration equipment or whatever technology's better around by 2025. So by the time that comes around, they're talking about cutting our discharge limits in half, possibly more. So we're actually in pretty good shape with utilities and all. So well, financially we're in good shape.
What's our note balance on the plant?
It's still close to $3 million.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
2030 is the payoff. There won't be any significant rate reductions because the little bit that comes off, we can pay off something, but it's only an account amount for $28,000 a year. That's just a drop in the bucket when you're talking a $3 million loan.
Right.
Our best thing we can do is create more dense users like SC Swiderski, compact developments, or even if we can get another subdivision on city water and sewer, or expand out to the roundabouts.
Right.
So there are options. The utility's in pretty good shape. That's all I have.
Are you talking with Vans about the, so without David here now, who's communicating with Vans about the properties on Brookwood there, the developments?
I am. I've been emailing him.
I was just wondering. I saw that. I was wondering because I know they had purchased 4, and it doesn't look like they had started on the 4th.
Yeah,
there was a plan in place.
With the code, I don't know what happened. They kind of just walked away for a little while.
Okay.
I've been trying to deal with them regarding drainage or downspouts from one house right on the east end.
Okay.
The other house towards the west end behind Steiner.
Behind Steiner, yeah.
They got the basement done and everything. They got wood out there, and it's been sitting for a while. But I see they're back.
They put the structure back up. They put the structure up.
And I've been waiting for the nursery to come out and take care of those trees.
That was my other question.
So things have kind of slowed down for some reason. I think it might be staffing.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been walking through there and I noticed that there was nothing happening for they dug the basement, just sitting there. If I recall correctly, they have 4 lots now out of the 6. So they've got one they haven't started anything with yet.
Oh, there's still 2 lots in the middle there, right?
There's 2 and then there's the big corner
The
one.
big one on the corner.
So I thought we were doing 2. Then we approved the other 2 to go to them, right?
No.
They have purchased 4.
Yeah, they only bought 4.
Yeah, because they put the basement in. They wanted to put the basement in the one before they bought it.
I wasn't paying too much attention to all that after once I got the road in, David's job. So.
Yeah, I know. That's why he's not here. That's why I thought.
But yeah, me and Nathan
probably
are trying to get back on top of some of that stuff. We've been extremely busy, especially with the developer calling all the time, and
Okay.
Everything else under the sun, so.
I understand, I was
It's a
just
busy
wondering.
time of year, so.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, we'll move to D, police chief.
I passed out the, July activity report. Looks a little different, we can put in dates like July 1st to July 31st, and our Allegheny County system just pops it out. So, the Allegheny County system just kind of puts it
Yep.
onto a sheet, so.
You have to speak up a little.
Yeah.
Can't really hear you.
It looks a little bit different because now we can put in dates, a date range, so we can put in July 1st to like July 31st, and it automatically creates a report for us now
Oh, good.
with our Allegheny County system, so.
So this is a new system.
Well, the system, the Spillman system, we've been using since July of, June of 2018. It's just a matter of what reports that they're gonna put into the system and stuff like that, what access that they give us. You know, Allegheny County is, because they're the head of the system, they have access to all these crystal reports and all types of reports, where Seymour is, our, like coordinator. She does like Cheyenne and Black Creek, Hortonville, Seymour. So she's got access to all of that, where we don't have access to it. So we're kind of on our own little island, and we're learning how to get in and navigate and use the system to the best of our abilities. So we came up, Julie found another new report, and I compared it to the one that I normally give you, and it's the same numbers.
So I noticed Cottages on Main isn't on here, is it?
No specific addresses.
No, that's not what I'm saying. The highest number on here is crime prevention,
Yep.
not disorderly conduct or anything else, which happened to be the case months and months ago.
What is the, what is the sick?
Basically what the six are,
Name.
so they have like the breathing problem. So when we get dispatched to like,
I mean,
a call, it's either sick A, sick B, sick C, sick D, okay? So a sick D is gonna be, actually gonna be like your heart attacks, strokes, those types of things. They are like the most, it's a response code. A, B, C, D is a response code. D is you better darn well get there, you can remember it that way. And A is gonna be like somebody bumped their head and they want first responders there to check them out. So, so when you see those, D is gonna be your strokes, your heart attacks, your deaths, difficulty breathing and stuff like that.
So they kind of coincide with that Gold Cross report. Like if you look at
Yes.
sick,
Yep.
there's, I think for July, there's 3 on there.
Yeah, but you have like breathing, you have breathing listed, you have stroke, and then you just have sick. Then you have a sick D, so
Yep.
Yep.
that's, if that's a stroke, wouldn't it be under stroke?
Not
I mean,
Not necessarily, it depends upon how it's screened up. It's a
Okay.
medical call. Normally what I did was I just put them, I lumped them all under medical calls, because to us, a medical call is a medical call. It doesn't matter if it's somebody cut their finger, somebody, you know, or somebody's having a heart attack. We're responding them, you know, to them.
What is crime prevention?
Crime prevention's like, so say for instance, every day that we, every shift that we work, we go and we check like Alonzo Park, and we actually do a walk through the bathrooms. So you could start a crime prevention for Alonzo Park, and then you could start a crime prevention for Miller Park. So that's why you're gonna see a lot of the crime preventions, but if we find some type of damage, then it'll turn from a crime prevention to a damage screen.
Do you do under the bridge?
That's a little difficult to get under, but
So a check
Kids
is
are always
basically
under the
checking,
bridge.
Yep,
I go down
it's
there.
a check.
counted as a crime
Yep.
I
prevention.
go fishing down there.
Yep,
Yeah.
some guys, they'll put like, because they contact We Energies if they have, if they find a street light out, and they could start it and write it under it as a crime prevention or a road hazard. So some of these calls, I mean, like a road hazard could be a street light out, or it could be, you know, gravel all over the roadway, where we're contacting the DPW and having them come out. Sometimes we run into a couple different problems, like, we had a stone that we believe flew up off of a vehicle and hit and damaged, Otter Creek's glass windows. So there was a hole in one of the glass windows, and we believe it came from a gravel spill. So it comes up as a damage, but then we're treating that, but then we're contacting the DPW and doing road cleanup. So, and you won't see that on here as
Well, like I called the other
a
day,
hazard.
my children found a needle, a spent morphine needle, and so I called it in. I called out a Gimme County non-emergent, and I'm guessing that would probably be under like a drug complaint maybe, or it would be under.
It's probably an assist.
Assist,
or crime
okay.
prevention.
Yeah, because I don't have a sheriff's container, and
Right,
yeah.
yeah, and we do.
I have one last question. Last email I got from you was you were looking for guidance on the mask stuff? The mask,
Andy?
no, what the hell does Evers call it?
The governor's order?
Yeah, the mandate.
Mandate?
The mandate. Last email that I saw from you said you hadn't received any guidance on enforcement, and you were gonna update us when you did, and I haven't seen anything.
Because we haven't heard anything.
You haven't heard anything, okay.
Yep, and unfortunately, it's not a law, so unfortunately, law enforcement has a difficult time enforcing it. However, like I reported, we're going to, if a business contacts us, we'll end up going to the business and taking care of the matter, because most likely it's gonna turn into a disturbance.
It's pretty good, only 3 fireworks complaints in a July.
Yeah, there's a lot of fireworks, so.
Usually you think there'd be
I don't
more.
even know they could have
There's
kept
nobody
up.
complaining.
Yeah, the budget on it was
Still going
30,000.
Yeah.
Everybody was happy to see fireworks this night.
Okay, just a couple updates on some kind of great things. There is a, company called Country Financial. They, are honoring hometown heroes, which are law enforcement, fire departments, those types of businesses or those types of organizations. So I met with them a couple weeks ago. They were granted, and this goes throughout the whole United States, and a great dollar amount. I think it was like $2 million or something like that. So each one of the corporate offices are given a certain dollar amount. So we, along with the fire department, each one of us, I believe, was given $750 to use on something that we need for our police department. So I'm meeting with them sometime next week to receive the check. So I don't know when we're meeting with the fire department, but we'll get some pictures and put those in the paper. And then the beginning of the month, I received a $12,000 donation from a business in the village to use for, he thought either like something that we needed for drug, however, we don't have a huge drug problem, but then because he is an owner of a large business, he thought that it would be beneficial to use it for like active shooter situation, the gear and stuff like that, because we as a department don't have anything like that, so.
12,000?
12,000.
It's generous.
That's wonderful.
It's
Wow.
actually 18.
Actually, 18,000.
It was 12,000.
Did the person want to remain anonymous?
Until once we,
Okay,
yep, we'll do Facebook, we'll do an article, and
nice.
kind of like what we did with the speed boards.
That's great.
That's all I have.
Any questions for Chris? We'll move to E, Library Director.
All right, we had a library board meeting on this past Tuesday. The library board approved the 2021-2022 OWLS membership agreement, which allows us to partake in OWLS for the next year, something that has to be signed on a yearly basis. we discussed some 2017 survey results and how those results will help me in terms of program planning and collection development. Our general circulations are down about 50% from where we were last year, which is very understandable. We're not the only library that's losing circulations due to COVID. But on the upside, our e-circulations have increased 60%, which is really exciting. This is the first full year that electronic circulations are counting towards county funding reimbursements. So for that to be up 60% is pretty significant. We're pretty excited about that. We've been experiencing a lot of delays in our service that we can provide because there was a national study that showed trace amounts of COVID on library surfaces that were specifically tested a couple different times. And in July, they found that it can linger on library surfaces of specific material up to 4 days. So now we have to quarantine everything for 4 days, check everything in on a 5th day, and it just has been slowing our process down. So we're running out of space, which is why we actually are using a table in the back for quarantining items because we're out of space. But we have a lot of patrons coming in, just very glad that we are open and at least providing some level of service. A lot of people have been sitting outside using the internet. I know some people have been out there doing job searches and things like that. So as long as we're here and we're available for in any capacity that we can be, we're glad to provide that.
Have you looked into alternate methods of sterilization for your returns, like UV stuff? And, maybe it would fade book. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I know they have like coolers that can bathe items in ultraviolet light, and within an hour, you're looking at having it completely sterilized.
Yep. So they actually make ovens, like very large easy bake ovens that you can run books through also that kill things like bed bugs, not to freak anyone out, but bed bugs, lice, things like that that get into the pages of books. They do make things like, they're very expensive, they take up a lot of space, and most of the libraries in our 50 library system just don't have the resources to get one of those.
Yeah.
But it is something that has been discussed at director meetings. One thing that they found is that those trace amounts are because items are being stacked.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's no airflow, it's getting stuck in between those items. Problem is if we want to spread everything out, I would take up the whole meeting room. So we're just rolling with the 4-day quarantine, and
Okay.
if it's causing a little bit of a delay, at least we're still moving stuff.
Well, if we're not capped on our, is it routes to recovery is what it's called? If we're not capped on that, could we find something that would help you keep even surfaces of a library clean? I mean, do you need something? I mean, I don't know, Jane, where we're at. I know you said Libby was keeping track, but with the routes to recovery that the state is providing, I don't know if we've hit anywhere close to the cap.
I don't know if we can use it for that.
40-some thousand.
Or for library in general.
No?
I don't know. We can try seeing, but it is kind of not under our jurisdiction. It's under the library board's jurisdiction, so.
Correct, but I think it could be an expense that's non-budgetary. It was something, if I read it right, on the routes to recovery, it was something that you didn't budget for, but has a direct purchase because of COVID. So it's $40-some thousand that we can use that I don't think we're gonna hit. But if we could find something to help you out in the library, not this big easy bake oven, but something that would help even keep the library environment safer for staff and for patrons, I think we should definitely look at it.
Well, I've been keeping track of all of the unexpected costs that have come up as well, because we can, as a system, we can put that in a grant that the system will then be getting and then redistributing back to the libraries. So I've been able to get things like Jane's son made our sneeze guards, the hand sanitizer dispenser, things like that, that were not expected purchases. It's something to look into.
And granted, it's a reimbursement, so you have to spend it to get it.
Right.
But it's $40-some thousand, and I would hate for us not to hit that amount. So-
Right now, we are using, a lot of Clorox wipes, sanitizing spray and rags, doing everything that we can.
Yeah.
But now that Clorox wipes aren't going to be manufactured till, what, 2021, I thought I saw. We're going to have to find creative ways to sanitize our space.
Okay. Not to get off topic, but to kind of tail on with what Jim was saying, if there's something out there that is maybe a bigger expense, if it would fall under this, it could be possibly covered under that roast recovery. I think, I can't remember if it's roast recovery, but gosh, it would just seem like a no-brainer.
The problem with that is if they go ahead and make that expense, and then they file for it and it's denied.
That's what I'm thinking. We do some research. We find out if it can be, you know. I think we could ask. It doesn't hurt to ask.
There's even a lot of talk on the Clerks Network because Badger Books, which is an electronic poll book, places have had to buy them to compensate to enter all the absentee ballots. And they were going to be compensated for that. However, they're so backlogged with Badger Books, you can't get them until like 2021 or later, so that doesn't apply. But there's talk of it there on the network as far as
Money sitting there.
Yep.
It's earmarked for Hortonville, so.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Ally, the only thing I wanted to ask you, you're closed the 14th, right?
Yes, we are
For
closed
training?
Friday, August 14th
Okay.
for staff training.
Mm-hmm.
InfoSoup, all of InfoSoup, the entire system will be down from the 14th through the end of the 16th. We have a brand new computer system starting on the 17th. We're gonna need that whole day for training.
Okay. Then we will move to F, attorney.
The only thing I had mentioned is Chris had filed the opioid class action claim, and so that was timely filed. It did not require specific damage list. It was, yeah, right?
Right.
So, but we talked about that last meeting, so I just wanted to report that was done. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, then we'll move to G, building permit report. It is in the packet. H, court report. We have none. 10, communications and miscellaneous business. Black Otter Lake District News. Pat?
Nothing. We have our annual meeting the 31st at 6.
Okay.
You were gonna send me an email.
I did
Thank you.
a few days ago. I'll resend it and then you'll know that I sent it
This
twice.
happened before.
Oh,
Yeah, did it
well.
bounce back to you?
No.
They didn't get it.
And
Peter and I
then we
will
will
deal with
move
this
on
later.
to B, Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District News.
First responders saw the post on Facebook or the city's or the village's website about the fire department needing volunteers, and they mentioned to me that they need volunteers too, so they would kindly appreciate if you could add them to any future solicitations.
Okay, we'll move to C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News. It is in the packet. D, Hortonville Civic Association.
Just one thing, Carl and I are gonna continue working on upgrading the pavilion at Alonso Park, which I think we're gonna tackle, what, September, late September, October?
Possibly after we do the auto.
Yeah, right.
Or earlier.
Yeah. We've got, the Hortonville Civic Association has about 12,500. We won't use all of that.
No, you're gonna attend the Black Otter Lake District meeting.
Right, I'll be there. If I ever get an email. I'm looking, I didn't get anything. It didn't even.
So
go to
we
Joe.
will now move on.
Okay.
Are you done?
Let's move on, please.
To E, Senior Activities Committee.
Okay, we had a subcommittee meeting, last week and a half ago. Our subcommittee kind of plans events, and obviously we haven't been able to do much because of COVID. And we normally have an autumn fest, which some of you have come to. So one of our members came up with an idea of possibly having a drive-through event where they could come through, maybe look at a police car, a patrol car, a fire truck, some different ambulance or vans. And then we'd have bags handing out, talking about services, agencies, different things that are available to them. We would try to piggyback our lunch with the ADRC if they're still doing the package lunch. Otherwise, we would look for other options. So what we're gonna do is send out a letter to agencies to see if they'd be interested in submitting flyers to us, that kind of thing. And I would like to sit down with you guys sometime if you think this is possible and talk about traffic and how to lay out the parking lot, that kind of thing. So we're in the planning stages. Lisa gave us a packet of the envelope, or the envelope that goes out to new residents as a starting point for ideas for what to include in the bags. So we're trying to do something in lieu of the actual event when everybody gathers in a big room and we're all too close together. So, and our next meeting is going to be the 27th, I believe, of August. And this event would take place September 23rd.
And then I would like to add that I did hear from Bonnie Planner from ADRC, and they would like to continue the grab and go through October.
Oh, they got it, okay.
And I said,
Good.
that would be wonderful.
Yeah,
So yes, so
Good.
it's going to continue.
good. They must
Yeah.
have just found that out.
Yep, just today.
Good.
She just emailed me this
Good.
morning, so that's good news.
Yeah. There've been around 50 people that are picking up every Wednesday here, so it's been very well received, and it's quite the system they have set up. Goes real smoothly. Good, thank you.
11 is comments and suggestions from citizens present, and there are none. 12, I would like a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
We're now adjourned.